What is up, wrestling fans? Welcome to part 2 of our mock draft of the Monday Night Wars, WWF versus WCW, that we have had in our last week's main event of the Smark Moment Smack Talk podcast. I'm your host, as always, Johnny Mango, joined as always by Callum Wiggins.
Bleh.
Rob DeFelice.
Yeah, that's how I feel about this as well. Bleh.
I'm kind of confident in my card. So I think I'm going to go last.
Look at me, I'm Tony. I'm confident in my card.
Look at me. I paid attention to the rules. If you don't know what that means, if you didn't know, go back and check out the previous episode. We, like I had said, we did a mock draft. This was put together by Callum of the 2K26 whole like Monday Night Wars Attitude Era Invasion type of angle. And Callum had put together all the people from WWF and WCW and the ECW folk and everybody as, you know, who was in which brand at what point in time over the course of, which were the years that you had done? It was what, 97?
95 to 2001.
It was the entirety of the Monday Night War.
Oh yeah, that's right. I'm still thinking Attitude Era. Wide variety of people, but we also kind of quickly ran into one of those scenarios where we were thinking, wow, there's a lot of people left to pick, but also not a whole lot of people left to pick. And I think it's going to make for some interesting cards. The rule was we have to keep it WWF versus WCW as well, as opposed to being like, you know, somebody like, say, Farouk. You have to be like, okay, well, he's Farouk. He's not Ron Simmons at any other point in time in his career. And then let's just put him against anybody. Or let's put, you know, if your pick for WCW, somebody like a Scott Hall, you're going to have him against a WWF guy, as opposed to just doing anything you want with anybody. So those rules made for some pretty interesting things as well. And we're going to do our usual rundown here of the fantasy booking cards that we were able to create out of this little matchmaker half of the mock draft. And we want you guys to tell us what you think, you know, which cards do you like the best? Which matches would you be the most interested in this hypothetical scenario? What would you have done if you had gotten the rosters we had gotten? Or obviously if you had been like, I wouldn't have picked the Bushwhackers at all, or you wouldn't catch me grabbing the Joey Abs and Pete Gas and, you know, the whole Mean Street Posse and all that. Whatever it might be, drop your thoughts in the comment section below. Make sure that you are chatting it up on all the different platforms and stuff that we've got going on. Yeah, we got our Discord channel that we have over there, over on the server link that you can find up on the sidebar of smarkandmama.com and on the description below on YouTube and stuff. And keep in mind, too, if you are on YouTube, hit the like button, subscribe, ring your notification bell, get your email alerts set up for future episodes that are live, like post shows. Share your support on the monetary side of things and all different sorts of methods, including the thanks button, the Patreon, the YouTube channel membership, and the Redbubble and TeePublic shops that we have. So, still haven't figured out a Darkcast yet for this month, but I might do another one of those Elimination Chamber things or something. So if you're enjoying the fantasy booking side, stay tuned for that. Maybe we'll do a watch along. I don't know, kind of all depends. So we will come back to this with the other matchmaker you know, cards here and there and stuff, but we got to figure out who's going to go first. I think based off of the level of enthusiasm in your own cards, I think I'm going to go last. So who wants to go first between the two of you?
I'll go first. I'll get it out of the way.
And I will eventually show Rob's card up on the screen for anybody that's curious, but I'm going to not show it up now because it'll just spoil the whole thing. And, you know. So, all
right,
have at it, Rob.
Yeah, wait till Rob ruins it first.
I went for my event called Clash of the Champions. It's WCW related. It's very simple, and I'm just going to read my card. We'll talk about later how difficult it was and what I ended up deciding on. But this starts with what I'm literally calling the everyone else battle royal. Anyone that I didn't have an idea for went into this thing, and it was ultimately won by Glacier.
Do you have a list of all the people that you
So it would have been. I don't have the full list, but just off the top of my head, I know I didn't use Glacier, I didn't use Crowbar, I didn't use Dick to Go, I didn't use Steve Corino, Hiroshi Tenzan. Like there's just a lot of like, okay, these are just names, and they would just all go into a pile. So if I had to use them and I'm booking them, it would all go into Battle Royale, and Glacier would win because Glacier is cool. Okay, that's the hill I'll die on for this podcast. Glacier was cool, and he rules. Then we go to an anything goes match between Kevin Sullivan and Sid, because these are two psycho people, and I think they would have a lot of fun. And I think Sid would be. He's a guy who, if you're not going to put him in like a world title match, he's a guy whose best use is like big man, kind of crazy. Let's give him someone that can like work around him. And I went with Kevin Sullivan, and I think I would have Sid go over just because the size differential. You know, I think Sullivan probably put up a good fight, maybe grab a pair of scissors, but I think Sid would get the win with the powerbomb. Then we go.
Which type of Kevin Sullivan are you thinking? Are you like?
I'm thinking because given the time frame, I'm thinking full Taskmaster, like, you know, either doing the goofy shit with Hogan, but my Sullivan would be just about a year later doing the good stuff with Benoit. And that's the kind of match I'm thinking of here, where you just hardcore style. Actually, there was a lot of like ECW influence on my card, and I wasn't expecting that going into it. Speaking of, there's a tag team match, which I don't have it as an ODQ stip, but it would probably devolve into an ODQ. Headbangers against Public Enemy. You know, it's kind of like that hip hop versus rock vibe.
I can see myself booking that match. Both teams are
really underrated. I probably would actually really enjoy watching this. They're great teams. I would probably say Public Enemy goes over, but this is another coin toss depending on where everybody's at in their careers, and you know, if you feel like the Headbangers are better, they do have a better finisher.
I was always more of a Headbangers fan than a Public Enemy fan. That's for sure.
Then we do.
I'd say I'm probably, like, if you're trying to get creative with it, but maybe not make it strictly hardcore, you could make it kind of akin to a lumberjack match, but instead of the lumberjacks, it's a mosh pit.
I like that. Like, that's the kind of vibe I would have for something like that, and something like this, because I realized I had these two guys on my card, and they have very similar gimmicks in like 95, 96. That's Rad Radford and Mikey Whipwreck. Now, they're both kind of like grunge rock inspired, you know, not totally cruiserweights, but they did a little high flying. Louis Spicolli's great. Mikey Whipwreck is great. I have Mikey Whipwreck going over because I'm just a little bit bigger of a fan of his than Spicoli, but I think that would actually be a really fun match. And again, another huge ECW influence on my card.
Do you have sort of like the tally of like WCW people are winning a certain amount of matches?
No. No. I realized, after realizing where I went wrong, I realized once I lost like Paige, I was just like, okay, I can't do anything that's going to do. Once I lost Paige and Hunter and the rest of DX, it was over. And it was just like, okay, we're going to have some fun here.
I will say, I tried to look at both of your card options, not seeing your cards ahead of time, but just your rosters. And I got like 3 or 4 matches in for both of the cards, and then was like, I don't know what the fuck I would do with most of these people. Well, so I mean, I'm very curious.
So like, I look at my next match. It's the tag team of Doug Furnas and Philip Levon against Dean Malenko and Chris. I don't have Benoit Adams. because I thought about a lot of different things to do with Malenko because I have a lot of great cruiserweights. I thought about doing like I'll make him the WCW TV champion. I'll put him against like a good European title level guy, and I didn't fucking have it. And I could have just said Dean Malenko against Flash Funk because he works really well against Scorpio, but I had already did something else for Flash Funk, so it was just like, okay, I'll do this. And Chris Adams is really good. I don't know if he was this good in 98, probably 97, 98, but like I can still imagine in this fantasy card no one will see that these four would probably work well together. I wanted to put Malenko with Furnace and LaFon, and I was like, fuck, I picked Malenko for WCW because like they're all that generic. We are wrestlers and we wrestle and do wrestling. So like I thought them as a trio might be good, but I picked them on opposite sides. So that's the tag match I put together.
I don't have the slightest idea who this Chris Adams guy is.
Gentleman Chris Adams.
He's Gentleman Chris Adams.
Drawing a complete
What else did he do?
You complete blank for me. I like if you said that this guy is like one of those Mandela effect things, I would believe you. I don't think I've ever noticed this person in my life. Sorry, Chris Adams.
Then I did a Survivor Series match, which was like literally, it was one of those things where it was like, I have all these people on this card. Yeah. It's WCW team was Greg Valentine, Paul Roma, Mike Enos, Wayne Bloom, otherwise known as the Beverly Brothers, otherwise known as the Devastation Crew, and Dave Taylor against Buddy Landell, the Patriot, Freddie Joe Floyd, and Dr. Tom and Jimmy Del Rey, the Heavenly Bodies. That's basically a Smoky Mountain Wrestling team. It's basically a Smoky Mountain Wrestling match. As such, I have the Heavenly Bodies. I didn't pick them, but managed by Jim Cornette, going over.
You should have gone with Mike Enos.
Mike Enos.
Enos.
No, but this was rough. This was like, I fucking picked Greg the Hammer Valentine. What the hell? And I had to do something with him.
He was the one that was the standout. It's like, what do I do with Greg Valentine? To me, yeah, I look at this list and I'm like, oh, I would have grabbed. He would have been my first pick out of this group. I would have gone Valentine and then Patriot.
It's Valentine at like 96 or 7. You're like, what do you do? We'll put him in a Survivor Series. Then I have a Fatal 4-Way match. I have a couple of these on the show. It's Hakushi, Kid Cash, Jimmy Yang, and Taka Michinoku because Cruiserweight wrestling fucking rules. And I have Taka going over because at the time he was kind of like the young prodigy guy.
Especially at this point in time, it ruled very much so. It was one of the only reasons to tune in.
Yeah, and I remember when Taka first came into WWF, I remember being like, oh shit. I'm like, Taka's fucking, he's a man, you know?
Yeah. Nowadays, cruiserweight wrestling is just wrestling.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's part of the problem. They have another tag team match. And it's PG-13 against the Insane Clown Posse. One of the easiest things to book on this card because it's PG-13 to wannabe white rappers and ICP to legitimate white rappers.
I'm actually a little bit surprised that it isn't Headbangers against ICP and PG-13 against Public Enemy.
Yeah, I was very much playing around with all four of those tag teams. I would probably put ICP over just because celebrities and you get the big pop and it's the 90s and people like the Juggalos and, you know, whoop whoop.
The Juggalos and the Juggalettes.
That's right.
It's
we get another Fatal 4-Way match. And this is straight out of a bingo hall in Philadelphia. It's Sabu, Jerry Lynn, Aldo Montoya, just incredible, and Flash Funk, Too Cold Scorpio. And I have Flash Funk getting the win. Probably because Sabu took himself out doing something ridiculous.
Yeah, the Funkadactyls with him? Or wait, no, they were
the Funkadelics. The Funkadactyls were Naomi and Karen.
Which were they? The Funkettes?
The Funkadelics.
Funkadelics? That's what they were there?
I believe so. Or it was the Funkettes. It was the Funk something. Listen.
Something very close to it, but not quite Funkadactyls.
The mother
and then we Then we get to a special 2 out of 3 falls match. First fall, straight up wrestling. Second fall, hardcore. Third fall, if necessary, it would be an I Quit match. And it's Bob Backlund against the Sandman.
Not a match I would have anticipated anybody booking. Bob Backlund against Sandman.
Because he's a hack, but it's the Sandman. And it's because what does Sandman do? He drinks and he smokes, and he's all about moral decay. And Bob Backlund is full blown. I want to be president. I want to tell kids that they need to drink their milk. And I think that this would be a genuinely fun program to watch.
Sure.
No, that's like thematically it works.
Yeah, you have to see it. Like,
I just don't know, like, because I assume that Backlund would expect to be wrestling this match, whereas Hack would be wanting to do anything but wrestle this match.
That's why the theme makes sense. Of like, first fall would be Backlund style, second fall would be ECW style, and third fall would be like, all right, get the guy to say I quit any possible way. And I have Hack going over because he'd probably do some weird hardcore shit that Backlund would just scream, say I quit or something.
Each fall of this is going to go like 3 minutes, right?
Yeah, it wouldn't be like a long match until you get to like the final I Quit portion would probably stretch like 7 minutes, and that would be 7 minutes of like a 14-minute match. You know what I mean? Like, it wouldn't be too long.
The bell rings and Backlund immediately does like a takedown,
a little howdy doody, little like warm up, and
spins around or whatever, gets a pinfall. Hack immediately just steps out of the ring and grabs a Singapore cane, hits him, and gets a pinfall.
Cane's on that second fall's over, and now you're having a match.
It's been 45 seconds and 2 out of 3 falls to the town already.
Then we get into I did a mini brawl for all, because why wouldn't you?
A lot of reasons, but go ahead.
Well, this one is WCW's Tank Abbott against WWF's Spark Gun. Tank Abbott goes over. I took them with this specifically in mind. I regret it now, but what are you gonna do?
What did you have?
Did he win by trying to shank the guy, like he did in WCW?
Well,
Shank Abbott.
I think in any case, the man he'll face in the finals is better equipped to handle anything than Bart Gunn. Then I get to like what I'm calling a big man battle royal. I guess it'd be over the top because they're all big, but probably
it's almost a buffet, right?
That's almost a buffet. I almost just full blown did a buffet. It's Reese, Brian Lee, Mabel, and the winner would be Yokozuna. Yokozuna's like 665 pounds. At this point, nobody is beating Yokozuna unless Shawn Michaels is getting a huge push. Like nobody should beat Yokozuna.
What's Reese?
Yeah, that wasn't
big. I don't remember Reese like size wise.
He's the Yeti.
Oh, wait, I don't remember. I remember the names of some of these guys, but then like if you showed me and it said like which one's Sick Boy, I'd be like, I don't know.
Then we get to one that would be fun for me. It's the triple threat: Shane Douglas, Bam Bam, and Chris Candido against Marty Jannetty and the Rock and Roll Express. I just think this would be fun. It's Chris Candido. It's a motivated Marty Jannetty. Rock and Roll Express were good like 3 years ago still, and Shane Douglas and Bam Bam, when they're on, they're almost nobody better.
Not sure if that's who I would pair them with, but I like the idea of Marty Jannetty with the Rock and Roll Express. That makes a lot of sense.
So it was one of those things where I was like, because originally I wasn't going to use Aldo Montoya, but then I plugged him into that. Marty was in that match. And then I was like, I want to use the Rock and Roll Express. They should probably be paired with Marty, so I just shifted some things around. But yeah, I got the triple threat going over there. But I think that would be a really fun, like, 6-man tag.
So far, that's the match that I would be the most interested in seeing, other than the ECW 4-way and the cruiserweights.
Then we have the other Brawl for All semifinal. Dan the Beast Severn beating Fit Finley. And the reason I went with Finley is because I feel like he's the one other guy on the WCW side of things that could probably hold his own in such a environment. But obviously I was going Tank Abbott, Dan Severn. I had that picked early on. I was just trying to use most of the people, as with this match, because what was originally going to be Dudley Boys, LOD, in a steel cage turned into a free-for-all street fight. It's LOD, Dudley Boys, Outsiders, and Faces of Fear. So it's Ming and Barbarian. Because I wanted to use Ming and Barbarian. And because basically what happened was I almost didn't have anything for Hall and Nash.
That's crazy.
And I was like, all right, I could put them against the Dudley Boys, but then what do I do with LOD, who I purposely grabbed and took WCW to put them against the Dudley Boys? And then I said, oh, fuck it. Maybe get a fourth team in there. I don't know what to do with Face of Fear. So essentially, this is a WCW WWE Tag Team Championship, whether you want to say both on the line, unification, but Outsiders do get the win here because I'm a mark for the click. And then another one of those, like, all right.
Oh no, to be honest, Rob, I don't know if that match sounds urban enough for me.
It's a little too Mr. Bojangles.
Oh god, that's a horrible thing. More on that in the hot tags, hopefully. Then we did United States Championship versus Intercontinental Championship. I see here that I wrote WWE United States Championship, and I have
very common for the Oh, you talk about WCW, of course, yeah, because that'd be very much not of the time for the WWE United States Championship to be around.
I have Ahmed Johnson as my Intercontinental Champion, and then I almost put Dean Malenko in this spot, and I played around with a few people, and I ended up landing on Kensuke Sasaki because I know that he held the belt around that time, and I know that, like, this match could be a pretty straightforward match, and I'd probably give the win to Kensuke Sasaki because I like Ahmed Johnson for that time, but like certain things just don't hold up. You know what I'm saying?
That is another guy that I could not tell you who he is.
And then we get the
Sasaki,
Brawl for All.
Obviously not Ahmed Johnson.
The Brawl for All final in the Lion's Den, and Dan Severn beats Tank Abbott. I don't know if a knife was pulled in the match, but I knew that this was what I was going to do when I grabbed Tank Abbott. I imagine like there's a world where this could be fun. It would have to be in the imagination because I don't know if it would be fun in real life.
Based on what Abbott did in WCW, I'd say a categorical no. It wouldn't be fun.
I mean, he danced for 3K. He tried to be entertaining.
Yeah, I mean, you know how much dancing they do in a mixed martial arts thing. That's kind of, I mean, that's the only reason people go to UFC is to watch the dancing in the middle of the ring,
or watch a man pull out a knife. And remember, this is Dan Severn UFC is like you can do anything. You can punch a guy in the balls 5 times in a row. Like that's the vibe I was thinking of here. Just like straight up, no holds barred kind of fight. But I do think Dan Severn could beat anybody. And then we get to the final 3 matches, which are actually like really fun to think about. WWF Light Heavyweight Championship versus WCW Cruiserweight Championship. Jushin Thunder Liger beats the Great Sasuke because, of course, you do this because wrestling is fun. I love junior heavyweight stuff. I love cruiserweight stuff. And these are 2 legends, and of course I was going to put them together.
Yeah, I'm sure they had plenty of matches at some
They did,
stage.
but
yeah.
I feel like they're not talked about enough as far as like their work together. And, these were pillars of like trying to bring that style over into the States. And the final match for the main event is The Rock versus the Ultimate Warrior. Because I think The Rock would have a blast making fun of the Ultimate Warrior.
This is WCW Warrior versus The Rock.
Yeah.
Semi-main event.
The Great One versus another
It's semi-main
guy.
event. It's semi-main event name only. It's because it's
Well,
The
on the
Rock
card
versus-
as well. It's semi-main event. If you're
Well,
trying to do that.
It's The Rock versus Warrior, and Rock would obviously win. I was thinking I could imagine The Rock having a lot of fun promo wise with this. Warrior post 96, not super duper fun, but it was either put Warrior here and do this with Rock, or put The Rock against the guy I already knew was going to be in the main event. And it's because the main event is a WWE versus WCW title ladder match. It's Randy Savage taking on Shawn Michaels. Savage is, of course, NWO Savage. He comes out with Hall and Nash. Of course, Hall and Nash turn on Randy Savage, help Shawn Michaels win. And now they have all the titles because, again, I'm a mark for the click. And that is my card.
When I was trying to figure out your cards, I would have probably gone. I didn't do a full card because, like I said, like it all kind of fell apart, and a lot of this was like, oh, I don't have any idea who Kensuke Sasaki is or whatever. I was thinking instinctively, you go Savage and Rock, and then even though I didn't particularly like it, I had Hall and Nash against Michaels and Jannetty. And it was like former tag team versus like former friends kind of a scenario. And I almost had the opposite scenario where I was like, in that kind of thing, I could picture Shawn turning on Jannetty and joining Hall and Nash.
You can picture Shawn Michaels turning on Marty Jannetty?
Right. And it's like the whole like, like, hey, like, let's get back together and like whatever. And then it's like, no, fucker. I want to be with my cool friends.
So like my whole thought process, I immediately knew I was booking Savage and Shawn. That's why I got them so early.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard not to.
97 Savage is still having really fun matches. His series of matches with DDP is some of the best shit WCW does in that era. You take that with like a 97 Shawn who's just like, having bangers with Mankind and embracing like that early DX attitude. I knew this would be fun, and a ladder match for these two would be really good. And then it leads to, Hall and Nash turning on Randy. I felt very confident in, and this is one of those matches where, of course, I'd actually like to see it.
I think I probably would have. I mean, personally, I would have taken the approach of that's considering how light you are on the kind of top end, upper end. I would have sacrificed the outsiders in terms of them having a team and just have Scott Hall and Kevin Nash available as like main event level guys. Probably would have done.
I thought about that, and I thought, I honestly, I almost did the same thing WWE did with Austin in 2002, where it was like, all right, so do I put Rock against Kevin, or do I put him against... I'd probably put him against Scott Hall. Then what do you do with Kevin? And
Nash against Warrior, maybe?
Well, they would be on the
wait, Warrior side. You had for WCW. That's right.
Yeah. So
that was the main problem.
Yeah. I would have started, definitely Savage Michaels is definitely the right choice from my perspective. I would have gone probably Rock against Scott Hall or Kevin Nash. Like both of them would work. Probably Scott Hall would be the better worked match. And then you could put Kevin Nash with like a Yokozuna type.
I thought about because that's what I was thinking. It's like, all right, if I'm gonna put Nash against somebody, I'd say Sid, but I saw those matches and they're not great. And like maybe Yoko, but no, I had those exact thoughts.
Do Ahmed Johnson against Warrior.
Oh yeah, that would
And-
be. I mean, that would be more of like entertaining from a freak show perspective. type.
Exactly.
Again, that's one of those
or
matches.
Sid versus Warrior.
I did. So in the very first Ultimate card we did, I did Sid versus Warrior under the guise of I just want to watch them cut promos on each other.
I mean, I'd be down for that. Yeah.
But that's
Like the
my
Master
card.
Rule of the Universe against the guy who is from parts unknown, which may not be in the universe that Sid rules.
Yeah, and then I was
So-
just imagining Warrior saying some nonsensical shit, and then Sid going, "I don't know shit." Like,
You're half the man I am, and I'm half the warrior you are. I got half the brains.
brains that you do. That's my card. Honestly, once you get through some of it, a lot of it just reads like a bunch of random matches that may or may not be great, or may or may not. Like some of these matches, even though it feels kind of flat, it could be really fun. Like, that Fatal 4-Way ECW style match, or the Backlund Sandman thing. Like, yeah, I can see some of this being fun, but I really struggled. I'm not even gonna lie, I struggled hard.
Yeah, I'm not. This doesn't give me WWF versus WCW invasion kind of, and it's like that's the downside to being able to not grab Sting and Goldberg and Austin and like all the big names that everybody wanted to see is when you're working with having the second row worth of people that you have are people like the Wayne Blooms and stuff like.
This feels more like a local show that would have occurred around the time, and maybe considering some of the bigger names, it gets like a pay-per-view deal.
You're talking like Heroes of Wrestling style.
I was very, very clear not to say that because I didn't want it to be Heroes of Wrestling, but almost in that same vein.
I would say my biggest con-wise, I would probably go the Survivor Series match.
Yeah, me too, pal.
Because at least with like Bob Backlund and Hack, that like I'm curious as well. Biggest positive, I mean, Savage and Michaels, obviously.
I mean, aside from Savage, Michaels, and a ladder match, my own biggest positive is probably that ECW 4-way, or like, one of the other cruiserweight matches, Liger and Sasuke, or the other like light heavyweight fatal 4-way. And then my biggest con, honestly, probably that Survivor Series, because it was just like, ugh, I've got these fucking people on the road.
I mean, the best ones like Savage Michaels. I mean, this is a very strict definition of the one match card.
Hey, I mean,
and
and they are here to carry the show.
And I mean, for my own personal tastes, the like low point is the Warrior Rock match, because like, why would you do that to the Rock? But then it's also a big man battle royal, because like, come on, that's just a poor man's big man buffet.
Yeah.
I mean, Reese is there, and it's not even Reese's Pieces.
I mean, I'm sad to say that I brought the Temu version of Tony's booking with that one. But I really do think, in hindsight, just immediate hindsight, maybe I should have sacrificed a lot more people and just said, I drafted 60, but I only used like the top 20 instead of just like trying to force everybody on the card. Maybe like LOD Dudley Boys Steel Cage immediately sounds more exciting than another like 4-way chaos match.
I do think it's funny that you put 4 ways together, because you were like, I don't want just pure WWF versus WCW. So if I put more than one of them in there,
because I drafted things in such a lopsided way,
right?
So that was also something. I do also like my Marty Jannetty Rock and Roll Express idea.
Yeah,
that was very clever. Okay.
The Rocker and the Rock and Roll Express. The Rocker and Roll Express. Callum, you are up next. Let me switch over to not be able to show everybody what the card is quite yet, and go for it.
Okay, so I'm feeling a lot better after that. So
that's why I'm here, pal.
This won't be perfect. There are matches that I don't really care about, but I wanted to use as many people as you can because I feel like that's the point of these cards, to like be forced into making matches with people that you genuinely don't really care too much about, but you've drafted them because they were better than the rest of the options that were available. So
Did you use everybody, or did you?
No. So the only people that I had left over. Actually, let me get it up because I need to find where on my old list. The people that I couldn't find spots for, I couldn't find a spot for the Armstrongs, Elite Skipper, and Prince Iakea. Because essentially I just had an overbalance of too many there were too many WCW people in general, so like I was always going to leave some of them off because I just couldn't find matches for them, and I didn't want to do like a battle royal where there was just an abundance of WCW people in it. So I just went, oh, okay, then I just got to let them go. Like Scott Armstrong wasn't much good anyway, and if I was going to use any of the Armstrongs, I was going to use Brad Armstrong. I originally had Brad Armstrong in one of the matches, but then I switched him around. But yeah, so it's only 4 people. It's not that bad in the grand scheme of things.
Yeah, 4 out of 82 or something.
Yeah. So my show, which I'll dub Invasion for the time being, but if I have to come up with a more original name, I'll probably call it WrestleCade. It's a mix of WrestleMania and Starcade.
Not
and
Starmania.
It doesn't sound as good. Starmania. And WrestleCade exists as a term as well, so it's like they can just jump off of that. So kick off night 1 with I've got 23 matches in total, and I did keep a score of who was winning on each side. So there is a winning promotion at the end of this. Not really so care about like babyface the heels. It's just Raw versus Raw versus like WWF versus WCW. So we open up with some cruiserweight action. SA Rios versus AJ Styles. So of course this is super young, super green AJ Styles, but also super athletic. Just have a spot fest match AJ Styles against SA Rios, who only really could do spot matches in WWF. So I imagine it'll just be, some good high flying action, and SA Rios gets the victory because at this point in time he is the more experienced of the two.
Yeah, that does. When like AJ Styles was like one of the main people of like, if you get him, it's not the phenomenal AJ Styles we're used to.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Then a bit more of a comedy goofball tag match. Got the BWO represented by Stevie Richards and the Blue Meanie against the Harris brothers, Don and Ron. And essentially just be Harris brothers trying to be super serious with their, their sunglasses, their all black attire and all that stuff, and the BWO just dancing around them, trying to draw them into more of a comedy match, trying to get in their heads with their antics. But the Harris brothers will eventually just take it seriously and get the victory.
Sensing a blue theme here.
Oh yeah, obviously, yeah, it's the Blues, the Blue brothers as well. So Jacob and Eli, but yeah, they're without hair now, so they're the Bald Brigade. My fascination with bald men. We're putting bald men in matches. That's how it works. Similarly to how Rob decided to go with a tried and tested thing with Liger and Sasuke, I decided let's do Spike Dudley versus Mike Awesome because that is a classic of the ECW lore during the time when Mike Awesome was the ECW World Champion. So I now have them representing WWF on Spike Dudley's side and Mike Awesome in the WCW side, and we'll have a tables match. And this will be the Mike Awesome that they had just before they decided that he needed a gimmick, because he did come in as Mike Awesome before they made him the Fat Chick Thriller or that 70s guy Mike Awesome. So I think towards the end of their run as well, they did try and make him more serious as well, because I think they teamed him up with like Lance Storm and stuff. So yeah, it'll be that Mike Awesome versus, and just throwing Spike Dudley around and eventually, throwing him from the ring to a table on the outside.
That makes
so
sense.
Far, I gotta say, one theme between your show and mine, there's a lot of like, hey, ECW played a big role in this time frame.
Yeah, of course, because like there was a lot of I mean, obviously ECW people would go over occasionally to WCW to just for the paycheck, but also WWF had that sort of like subtle working relationship with ECW as well. So a lot of their people were tuning in and turning up over there in the meantime. So 6-man tag match, Mean Street Posse on one side, Free Count on the other side.
That makes sense.
They're all kind of like goofy. They have their dances with a Free Count and their like music video stuff, and the Mean Street Posse are more just your goon type heels. And I imagine like it wouldn't be the best match in terms of quality, but I'd have the Mean Street Posse win because Evan Courageous is on the Free Count, so I have to take the pinfall. So
that's wild.
I know Evan Courageous was technically the leader, but we know better now that like
but I know what I'm missing. Even with what we know now, that you're like, get Pete Gas, Rod, Evan Courageous is there to take the pinfall.
I mean, what's the thing? Like, I don't know if Evan Courageous did anything in wrestling after WCW.
I don't think he did. I really don't.
So yeah, that would be just to even it up. So it's now currently 2-2. Then this is the match that I'm probably most disappointed in from just a personal perspective, because I feel like I've let Canyon down, and I like Canyon. I really liked Canyon, and I thought that I wanted to try and put him in a decent match, but then I was just like, oh, there's just better people that I want to put in other matches, and I just couldn't find a good opponent for him. And he needed an opponent, as Stan Hans would say. So I ended up having to pair him up with Tiger Ali Singh.
I mean,
which sucked because Tiger Ali Singh was just terrible and like was never any good. But what I'm going to imagine is that like Tiger Ali Singh comes out to do one of his where he would lay challenges to the crowd for money because he was like the rich Indian gimmick. And so he basically says like, who will come out and take on my challenge? And then Canyon comes up and says, well, who better than Canyon to take on this challenge? Yeah. And then Canyon comes out and beats him pretty quickly. So at least Canyon will get a victory. Yeah.
I like that you, even with that, put some thought into how and why that would happen.
Yeah.
I like it.
All right. So this is a slightly weird one as well, but it could be fun. So I haven't thought of a clever enough name for it, but it's essentially going to be a washout between Goldust and the Great Muta. And
a washout? What do you mean by that? It's not a term I'm familiar with.
Well, so you know how something can be a wash, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So essentially, this is a washout where the winner of the match is the person that washes the person's face paint off.
Oh, okay.
Again, these two would have a good match just in general. Well, as long as Goldust is motivated in this point in time and not too drugged up, and Great Muta was motivated at this point as well. But the idea is that they come in with their full face makeup on, and there's going to be like buckets with water and sponges and loads of stuff all around the ring. And the idea is that they're just trying to splash each other to remove, and the person who wins is the person that removes all of the face paint off of somebody. So there might be still some little specks left over. You'd have to try and get as much of it as possible for the referee rebel. Basically, a more cokey version of a First Blood match.
Please tell me this isn't Goldust during the Luna Vachon type era. With like cone tits and stuff.
I think I'll lean towards the more 95, 96 Goldust.
Okay.
There's just I had two face painted guys. I was always going to put them together. The washout and that thing was just me trying to be a bit clever with it towards the end. But I was always going to pair these two together because I thought it would just be a good match. But then, I might as well make it a bit gimmicky while I'm at it.
Do you think that Muta could get the face paint off by spraying him with the mist?
Do you have to wash the mist off after too?
Well, I was also thinking, even though I have Goldust going over in this one, what could happen is that maybe Muta goes for the mist on Goldust when Goldust is close to the end, and Goldust decides to wipe it all over his face so he can't tell that his face paint is off because he's covered in Muta's mist.
Yeah, I'm also kind of thinking himself. Muta gets the mist, and then Goldust, because he can't see, like dunks his head in the water, and
Or
That's
it's
it.
like, oh my god, this hurts so much that I want to be in the water to wash it away.
Yeah.
That would be a good idea, finishing it if I
And
wanted to have the Great Muta win. But
the amount of thought that we did into things that would never happen. It's so
I mean,
funny to me.
I think you could also do so. Like again, this is a bit silly as well, but because Great Muta had like the fall over face paint, that Goldust, when he's very close to the end, he kisses Great Muta to take some of his makeup and put it on his face.
Ah, I like that.
So you could do that as well.
I like this match. This is one of my favorite matches so far.
Then we get into more of the top end for the first night. So you have Ken Shamrock versus Masahiro Chono.
Yeah.
Should be the fun enough match. Masahiro Chono at this point was more on his not super hard worker, but a charismatic guy. Ken Shamrock didn't have a huge amount of charisma, but was a good worker. So I think that they'll kind of balance out pretty well, and just have Ken Shamrock get the victory here. But yeah, decent enough match between two, upper mid card level guys. Tag team match: the Hardy Boys versus Harlem Heat.
Makes sense.
Reason I picked Booker T just to be as variable as I was, give as much options as I could, because I tried to pair him up with other people, or toyed with the idea of pairing him with other people in singles matches and just leaving Stevie Ray to rot in a lower card match. But no, they're better as a team, or they're more established team. And the Hardy Boys, I needed a right team to face them, because I'll talk about the other team that's later on that I was thinking about, but then I thought, that just doesn't feel right to pair them up with them. So I thought Harlem Heat was the better option. I'd have Harlem Heat win though, because the Hardy Boys were still towards the end of it, they were getting firmly established, but they were the younger, less experienced team for the most part of it. Harlem Heat are a bigger team as well, so I think they'll just bully the Hardy Boys and get the victory. Maybe build up to like a ladder match later down the line if they do another invasion where the Hardy Boys have the advantage.
Yeah, Hardy Boys during this era, definitely not the Hardy Boys that people are most familiar with.
Actually, they are. It is probably the Hardy Boys they are most familiar with, but like
as far as winning world championships and stuff. Like
yeah, definitely.
They're still level, teens.
Yeah. Singles match: Kurt Angle versus Diamond Dallas Page. So to keep in mind that this is, even though Kurt Angle wins the world championship in 2000 after one of the best rookie years in WWF history, he's still young for the most part during this. He's still fairly inexperienced, and I thought the story you tell with this is that Kurt Angle is like the blue chip prospect. He's a guy that's been carefully molded and selected to be a gold medalist, a winner. Like, he is a groomed, ready-made world champion, whereas Diamond Dallas Page didn't get into pro wrestling, or at least not actually wrestling, until his mid-30s. Like, so he's more of someone who's had to scratch and claw and fight to reach the level that he did reach to become a world champion, to reach that stuff, whereas Kurt Angle is essentially born with the silver spoon in his mouth type gimmick. So you tell that, so Kurt Angle just cuts promos about how he is born for greatness, whereas Diamond Dallas Page is just a fool that got lucky, or something along those lines. Both Page just keeps talking about how hard he's had to work, how much he's had to fight to be in this position where he can fight someone like Kurt Angle, who was given all of the opportunities in life that he had to fight for. And yeah, and then you have Diamond Dallas Page win, because Kurt Angle is not still, at the moment, still learning, still raw, still like moving up in the world. So Page used the experience to get the victory, and obviously the crowd's backing as well to get the victory.
I don't know if I would be booking Angle and Page, but that would be like the cards would have to fall in certain ways or something. But you told me. I'm very glad it's not Diamond Dallas Page just stalking Karen Angle.
No, not yet. Anyway, that wouldn't come until TNA. Then we have an I Quit tag team match: Cactus Jack and Terry Funk against the Steiner Brothers. So I was thinking of, obviously I had toyed around with ideas with Mick Foley wrestling in singles, but I thought that when I tried to pair the Steiner Brothers up with another tag team, the only really one that fit was the Hardy Boys, and I thought it's just too much of a physical mismatch for me to even really suggest going with that. So I thought, okay, we'll have the Steiner Brothers that are very aggressive but are more collegiate wrestlers, and they're brought into a feud with Cactus Jack and Terry Funk, and they're forced to go at it in their own, like in a more visceral, hardcore way. In a way that like Cactus Jack and Terry Funk would put over two younger guys and try and, you know, get the absolute best out of them by pushing them out of their comfort zone into more violence, into more using blood, using weapons. And yeah, I just think it'd be a very physical match where the Steiner Brothers would use their strength and submissions and suplexes to just try and wear the other two down, while the other two would be scratching and clawing with weaponry and their wits and experience to try and get the edge. And eventually I'd have Cactus and Terry Funk win, but like show respect to the Steiner Brothers afterwards for the effort that they put into it as well. So it's just like, even though this is a rivalry, it's like there's some element of respect between the two of them.
Of course, Rick getting that pin.
Well, he was the one that said I quit, probably, and then maybe that could lead to the Steiner Brothers splitting, like they would do in reality for WCW, and Steiner going in his own, and Scott going his own way.
That's the kind of thing that gets me going. That's what I'm talking about, buddy.
Fucking... Somebody won the club that. Make that a quick little yarn. That's the thing that gets me going.
I almost said something a lot more vulgar. No, like this is the kind of shit that we watch wrestling for. This is dudes beating the shit out of each other and making it fun and entertaining. Like that's wrestling.
And then we have our main event of night one, which is Vader versus Goldberg.
Dudes beating the shit out of each other.
Big meaty men slapping meat.
So I imagine, even though this is the main event, I imagine it would probably only go like sub 10 minutes, but it would be one of those like just go all out immediately, just beat the shit out of each other. Vader tries to impose his strength and will on Goldberg. Eventually feels like he's got the win, but then Goldberg just powers out, spears, gets Vader up for the jackhammer, hits it 1, 2, 3. So yeah, but I think it'd be a very physical way, and Vader would bring out, well, he'd either bring out the best or the worst in Goldberg, depending on the situation.
And it's so weird because these are two guys who, if you take them at their very best, this is the ultimate dream match. But if you take them at even slightly less than that, this is a train wreck in the worst way. Yeah. But like, what a fun idea with these last two matches of just really hard-hitting professional wrestling. I like it.
Okay, so that's night one. So we move on to night two. At this stage of the end of night one, WCW is ahead 6 to 5. But it's close. They've kept it fairly even at this point. And then you have the first singles match. Again, we start with cruiserweight action like we did in the previous night ones. We go Billy Kidman versus Super Crazy. And yeah, I just think it would be a fun match in the same way that I toyed up between S.A. Rios and Billy Kidman and going with Super Crazy and AJ Styles, but I thought, okay, well, it's very obvious who's the more established person in both those matches, and so it's an obvious way to pick a winner. So I just had Billy Kidman beat Super Crazy in this example. And then maybe at a future one, you do the Billy Kidman S.A. Rios match. But yeah, I thought that was just, it'd be a fun, again, exciting way to kick off the show.
Flippy stuff, always a good way to start off.
Yeah. There we go, a hardcore elimination 8-way match. Because I thought about doing this 4 versus 4, but I thought, these guys would probably just beat the shit out of each other anyway, so we might as well just have them go at each other, and whoever's the last man standing wins it for their promotion. So it ends up being got Hardcore Holly, Crash Holly, Paul Buchanan, and Brooklyn Brawler for the WWF representatives, and then Scott Norton, Ernest Miller, Jamie Noble, and El Dandy.
There's El Dandy.
Who are you to El Dandy? I originally had Brad Armstrong instead of El Dandy, but I decided it's funnier to have El Dandy in the match instead. So yeah, it's just your typical kind of mid or early 2000s WWF style hardcore match where they're just in the ring and some of them outside the ring, occasionally just throwing weapons at each other and going crazy. And you'll have two people in the ring probably at any given time, and one pinfall will happen, the other person will get dragged out of the ring, two other people will enter, and then you'll eventually get another pinfall there, maybe false count anywhere, however they want to approach it. And the final two will come down to Hog Holly for WWF and Scott Norton for WCW, and I'd have Holly get the victory because he's got hardcore in his name, so he should be winning these types of things.
Hey, you got an idea?
Yeah, he'll win this match.
He beats
no
everyone.
belts. Then we have a singles match, which I think would just be quite fun, maybe in a different era as well. But Steve Williams versus Yuji Nagata. Yuji Nagata's obviously at this point in his career still not like fresh out of like the dojo, but he's still a lot younger and a lot more fresh faced than he would be when he reached like world championship status like 5-10 years later from this point. So Steve Williams gets to use his experience and his greater strength at this point in time to get the victory over Nagata. But as I say, it would be more fun if it was like not modern day, but prime Nagata versus prime Steve Williams. Whereas at this point, you're probably a bit more over the hill Steve Williams against up and coming Yuji Nagata. Tag team match, the Quebecers, because I had both Carl Ouellet and Jacques Rougeau. Yeah. So I thought, okay, I'll just pair them together and go up against the Nasty Boys for WCW. And yeah, I'll just have the Nasty Boys win. It's not a match that I gave a lot of huge effort for. It's just two of the tag teams I had left over. So, okay, I'll just throw them together then. I don't think it'll be particularly great, but it's there. Handicap match. China, who's at a disadvantage, against Disco Inferno and Sean Stasiak. So the idea is, as you probably would imagine, is that Disco Inferno is like a woman hater. And I'm not saying that just in character, but you know, we'll go with that as well.
Is he Disco Inferno or is he Glenn Gilberti?
Who cares? And who cares about him as well? But in general, he's going to be there cutting a load of promos about how like a woman's place isn't in the ring, it's in the kitchen, and all that other like crappy, sexist, like bottom of the barrel bullshit. And China's like, he's scared of actually fighting China because China would physically manhandle him and destroy him, or woman handle him even. So he gets some muscle in the form of Sean Stasiak to be his kind of his muscle and his bodyguard for this match. So most of the match is just China fighting Sean Stasiak, and Disco Inferno is able to get involved to just trip up China or take a cheap shot, and that allows Sean Stasiak to take advantage for the most part. And Disco Inferno then tags in every now and again to just beat up China, but as soon as China starts getting up, he immediately runs to the corner, tags out. China then makes a big comeback, takes down Sean Stasiak, gets Disco Inferno in the ring, and is able to powerbomb him into oblivion and get the victory.
As she should.
Absolutely. Maybe not in a Vince Russo booked Vince Russo booked the show, but I choose to have some empowerment in this card. Singles match, which is probably more in line with ECW than either of these sides, but it's Rhino versus Perry Saturn. Because I was a big fan of both of these two, and I think that they both got kind of short end of the stick when they both went to WWF. But I think that they would have a pretty physical match between the two of them, and I'd have Perry Saturn get the victory because he's more, again, the more established name at this point, but Rhino doesn't really become the Rhino that we know until like 2000s, like 2000, 2001, that kind of era when he becomes ECW champion. Perry Saturn is far more established at this point. Then we have 6-man tag. Too Cool, Rikishi, Grandmaster Sexay, Sky Too Hotty against the Natural Born Thrillers of Chuck Palumbo, Sean O'Hare, and Mark Jindrak.
I could see that.
Yeah, I think it'd be cool, like, obviously, that Too Cool, more established, more popular acts, whereas Natural Born Thrillers were only up and coming towards the end, but they had a lot of, I don't know if charisma's the right thing, but they had a lot of like in-ring ability to the point where they weren't great workers, but they were great spot guys. So I think they could do some fun stuff here. And also I saw some good matches that Chuck Palumbo and Sean O'Hare had with Rikishi when they came over to the WWF as well. for WWE at that point in time. And so I think that they would work well together, and they were strong enough and physical enough where they could actually take down Rikishi, and obviously for the most part be bullying Hottie and Sexo before they make the hot tag to Rikishi to bring him in. So yeah, I think it'd be a lot of fun. Then Too Cool use their experience to get the win, because you have to have the dance at the end of it. Because why else would you put Too Cool in a match if not to have the dance at the end of it?
Yeah.
I feel like this is the rib is these young power plant kids are just gonna have Rikishi's fart in their face. Like that's kind of what this whole match is for.
Well, I imagine that's what Margin Jack is for, because I'd have him like be the one to take the stink face.
See, I feel like that would be Stasiak, but you have Stasiak losing to a woman, which also checks out. Like,
yeah, well, I thought that he fit more into the bodyguard type role, because he was me in WWF as well. So
I probably would have been tempted if I had your card to pair up Too Cool with 3 Count.
I thought it was too lopsided. I thought it was too lopsided with Rikishi.
Yeah, Rikishi does make it like, of course Too Cool's going to win,
Because I would probably, like, if that was the situation, I would, if it was Rikishi versus 3 Count, I probably would still have Rikishi win. So it's still a bit too uneven. Then singles match: Rob Van Dam versus Ultimo Dragon.
absolutely.
There you go. That's
Because why would you not? Why would you not do that match? Yeah, I just think it'd be totally fun. 2 real innovators at the time as well. Have Rob Van Dam go over because, well, just for the balancing. But yeah, I thought it'd just be either one could easily win, but it would be a fun match between 2 of them.
Yeah, that would rule back then.
Yeah. Submission match: Taz versus Chris Benoit.
Yeah.
I had ideas for Chris Benoit for a lot of people, but I thought like Taz is a very physical, submission orientated fighter, obviously with the Taz mission. So you have Chris Benoit; it's very submission oriented as well, but also very physical, very can be violent as well. And
The funny
so
thing about that to me is it's still again very ECW, like very Paul Heyman. That would have been a Paul Heyman booked match.
oh yeah, definitely. But I think by the time that like Benoit had left for WCW, I think Taz was still the Tasmaniac at that point. So we never got to see like prime level Taz against Benoit. At least not. Then by the time that Benoit came over to WWF, Taz was pretty much on the downswing at that point. So
Downswing Jones.
so I'd go with
Which is
so
funny,
go like
because they're only about a month apart as far as like debuts. But yeah, it's very clear Benoit's on the up, Taz is on
the outs.
Yeah, declining. Yeah, it's declining. So I'd go like prime Taz, like pretty much as soon as he joined WWF against like Benoit at a peak period of time as well, and Benoit would go over because he was touching the main event for the most part of his time in WCW towards the end of his run there.
Yeah, that makes sense. Given those 2 in that time frame, I'd probably go Benoit. Yeah.
Owen Hart versus Lance Storm.
That would be fun.
They really pushed Lance Storm hard towards the end of like the WCW run. He was one of the most, I don't say overact, but definitely one of the most heavily pushed acts of 2000 WCW. So I think that 2 Canadians against each other, they would have an excellent match. Because these 2 are great. So I don't see anywhere to go wrong. I toyed with the idea of going basically switching the previous 2 matches around and going Taz versus Lance Storm and Owen Hart versus Chris Benoit, because Benoit and Hart would probably have the better match. But then I thought, again, it's trying to balance out winners and losers. So it's harder to choose a winner between Benoit and Owen Hart than it is between like Owen Hart and Lance Storm, and Taz and Chris Benoit. You pick Benoit to beat Taz, and you pick Owen Hart to beat Lance Storm. But yeah, it'd just be fun. Go between like the sharpshooter and the Boston Crab, or the Calgary calf, or crab, or whatever he referred it to.
You do have a lot of options that you could have gone. Like you could have gone Storm and Angle, or
oh yeah, definitely.
Storm and Shamrock, or like you said, like
I
Owen
was thinking
Benoit.
Benoit Shamrock. Yeah, I was thinking Benoit Shamrock at some points, and I mean the part of me also always is tempted to go Benoit and Angle just because it's Benoit and Angle. So we know how good that would be. But yeah, so I did like pick some good people. I wasn't too like it's mostly the undercard that I was just annoyed with because it's just like I just don't care about any of these people. So why am I doing this? It's just like the top half. If there was like if I had half the number of people that I had, then I'd be fine. Then we got semi-main event for night 2, and at this point, WWF is only needs one more victory to get the win overall. But then it's Nation of Domination. So Nation of Domination consists of Farouk, D'Lo Brown, Mark Henry, and K-Quick.
Okay.
So it's not going to be goofy, like Get Rowdy K-Quick. There'll be a more serious iteration of K-Quick.
Ron Killings more than R-Truth.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. And then the 4 Horsemen, which is going to be Ric Flair, Arn Anderson, Barry Windham. And I didn't want to put Benoit in this because I wanted Benoit in a singles match because I thought he'd be more effective in that role. And I didn't have anybody else that fit who was an actual 4 Horsemen, so I had to pick someone in. So I thought someone I believe made sense was Paul Orndorff. I think Mr. Wonderful would fit well in the 4 Horsemen. So I decided, I'll go with that. And like they're more of like a complete veteran side against more of a younger team in the Nation of Domination.
How tempted were you of putting El Dandy in that spot?
Oh yeah, I mean, who are you to doubt El Dandy
or Canyon? I mean, who's betting on Canyon?
Yeah, to be honest, I was thinking about putting potentially a younger guy in to be like the 3 veterans, and then have a young guy coming forward. But just none of them made sense to me in terms of I'm not going to put like AJ Styles in that position at this point in his career, and other guys just don't feel like Benoit was the obvious fit. But or Lance Storm even, but I feel they'd have more value to me in a singles match, so I had to just go with them. Maybe Scott Norton, but I thought that was a bit of a weird fit as well. So went with Paul Orndorff to have just a bit more of a veteran that feels like he aligns a bit more with the whole like kiss stealing, wheeling dealing, jet flying, 4 Horsemen aesthetic. So more veterans versus young guys, and I'd have the 4 Horsemen win because, of course, the WCW team has to win the War Games match.
Plus, if he would have had the full tie at the end, kind of thing.
Oh yeah, definitely. So now it all comes down to this. So we're tied at 11-all. So the 23rd and final match, and you probably know where it's coming if like one of the first few people I picked. So it's The Undertaker versus Sting.
Yeah.
No.
I mean, I was thinking Undertaker versus Jamie Noble.
Because, I know everyone was really clamoring for that Triple H match. But realistically, so it just meant that let's finally make it happen to have Undertaker versus Crow Sting. Because that's the only
which Undertaker are you thinking? Like,
I'm thinking... See, I always had a punch up for Ministry Undertaker.
Mm-hmm.
I really like the theme. I like the aesthetic.
Same here.
But it
is badass. It's just a
kind
of thing.
But that Ministry Undertaker is also weird in the one that he tries to impregnate Stephanie McMahon while tied to a cross and all that other stuff as well. So I think that I'd go with just more straight-laced babyface, like 97-ish Undertaker against Crow Sting. And it'd be more like, babyface, both in their prime, both doing cool stuff. And, I'll buck the trend, and I'd say that I'd have Sting win. Because...
he should. I mean, realistically, if you think about the time frame, it would be Sting going over because Undertaker lost a lot. I think people think of Taker and they think of, like, streak, where he just never loses. Undertaker lost all the time.
And also, like, if we're looking at this through modern day lens, if this is like an invasion card or anything on that ilk, we know how the Monday Night Wars ends. It ends with WCW losing. So, what value would you have bringing all of these guys in to do an invasion show under, let's say, a WWF banner? If you just have, well, they know because they would do it routinely as part of the actual invasion, but you should have the WCW and the invading team win the first round, or at least leave them the WWF with a bit of a black eye that they have to recover from. So yeah, that's why I'd have Sting beat the Undertaker to start things off. But as I say, you could go either way depending on your taste. There's no real wrong answer between the two of them. They're both more than worthy to get the victory. It's just more important to just see the match actually happen because we never got the opportunity to.
Typical WWE of we'll do it later. We'll do it later. We didn't get a chance to do it.
Yeah,
that's probably everyone's top pick of like, fuck these people.
Yeah, that is the card that I put out.
I thought it was really good. I mean, a lot of matches here that aren't very Callum matches, and I was expecting like,
this isn't my era. Like, this is an era that I don't have a lot of time for. Really, I'm not someone that subscribes a lot to the Attitude Era being great, because I think that having gone back and watched a lot of it, so much of it sucked.
Yeah, you're definitely more Ruthless Aggression for sure.
Yeah, you're definitely Ruthless Aggression onwards. Like, as I prefer, as much as like modern day wrestling can annoy me in certain facets, and that's probably just a factor of age more than anything else. I don't think it's. I always say this. I don't think I would have become a wrestling fan if I was alive if I was watching during the Attitude Era.
You wouldn't be following the same that like. Like I'm looking at an old photo of myself and I got the DX shirt on and all that. Yeah.
I just don't think I would have got. Yeah, I just don't think I would have gotten on board with it at all. So, yeah. Or I would have become a Ring of Honor fan immediately. Maybe the real route I would have gone there.
I would say lows and highs. Low, I'd probably say Quebecers, Nasty Boys.
Yeah, that sucks. Yeah.
Yeah, that's peak, not Callum. Like, what are you doing here, booking the Quebecers and the Nasty Boys?
They're tag teams. That's all they are. They're just like available tag teams.
I would almost have pictured that you might have done Quebecers versus Steiners and Jack and Foley against Nasty Boys instead.
Wow.
I want to have some good matches on the show.
Hold on. That's so indicative of Tony always does this. He always goes, I would have thought you would have done this thing that WWE exactly did. Just do the Steiners and the Quebecers. It's like you're so WWE brained even when you don't know it.
Yeah, I'd probably go that with the low end, and then of course you gotta, I'm gonna enjoy Lance Storm versus Owen Hart. I'm gonna enjoy Sting and Undertaker, Vader Goldberg. I would say like the standout like more oddball positive, because Rob Van Dam versus Ultimate Dragon, sure, obviously would probably be the Rhino and Saturn.
I think that I think that'd be a good sleeper match, like to like two younger guys at this point in time, just trying to go out and impress people. So I think that they would bring an energy to this one.
Any thoughts you got, Rob?
Yeah, like I said, that Cactus Jack, Terry Funk against the Steiners is a match I would like to actually see. So is Vader Goldberg. So is Sting Undertaker, obviously. And that washout match is a really unique idea as well. I would like to see that.
Honestly, like the weird thing for me is like my favorite match is one that you probably like scoffed at a little bit. I think the Kurt Angle and Dallas Page match would be fantastic.
I can see them working well together.
I just think their dynamics would weirdly work together, even though they're not very similar in terms of style.
I didn't think about it until right now, but I would be kind of tempted to maybe do Owen Hart, Diamond Dallas Page.
That would be fun as well.
That could work too.
Page is somebody I really, really wanted because he is of the era we picked. There's very few people. I think Page and Raven are two of the standouts where it's like you need to get them here because they're never as good before or after. And I was really crushed when I didn't get him. So yeah, I think Page, Kurt Angle would have been a very good pick.
Yeah, alrighty. I'm
going
to switch. All
right, so now let's see what we have to be so impressed by.
Well, I mean, it's a Tony card, so you're going to roll your eyes still. I am doing something I don't think would make a whole lot of sense to a lot of people. I have a
I
two-night
love where you're
card.
starting.
I have a 2-night card that is a pay-per-view on night 1 and Monday Night Raw on night 2.
I already hate it. Thank you. I already like.
Let him go.
It is
I mean-
Sunday Nitro Heat, and then the Monday Night Raw is War. Monday Night War is Raw scenario. We have a dark match. I'd never do dark matches, but
We have a dark match, he says.
it's just a friendly bout of good sportsmanship. It's also known as the Enhancement Exhibition match. Barry Horowitz against Norman Smiley.
Oh, you got to do the wiggle. You're hiding the wiggle under the dark match.
Yeah, I mean, that's the reason half the people are here, pal.
You start off this war between WWF and WCW with 2 jobbers that shake hands and have a regular wrestling match in front of the crowd while they're still getting in their seats and stuff. Barry Horowitz wins. Because every once in a while, Barry Horowitz pulls out a little victory. And you can't start off the WWF and WCW thing during a Vince McMahon era and not have, like, okay, well, WWF wins the first match. Just out of an ego thing. But the real first match of the first show, the pay-per-view side of it and all, is one of the many title unification matches. The European champion, Bret Hart, against... Yeah, hear me out. Against the either TV or United States champion, Chris Jericho. And it's either or because I'll come back to that a little bit later. So it's Jericho against Bret Hart, which is like self-explanatory. I mean, I don't think I really need to sell that match. Prime Chris Jericho, or arguably Prime Chris Jericho against Prime Bret Hart.
Not Prime Chris Jericho. And the way you're booking him, I feel more like WCW level Bret. So I'm not feeling very Prime Bret, but maybe you're going somewhere with it.
I think like this reminds me of like 96 kind of veteran. Well, to be fair, this strikes me as like maybe it's a bit before that, but it's like
this is pre-97 Rumble Bret in my mind. Yeah,
I'm kind of seeing shades of Bret Hart versus 1-2-3 Kid with this match.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, very much exactly what you're going for there. And Jericho being like the jerk who's like, I'm the better Canadian, I'm the better technical wrestler, I've got 1,001 holds kind of a thing, you know, whatever, but like the cocky, you know, asshole type of character that he had. Bret being more of the babyface side of things, because even though it's WWF versus WCW, there's babyfaces and heels on both sides. So Jericho's definitely a heel. And
listen, I peeked at your card. I understand. Okay, you should just say Intercontinental and United States for this one. For these
it's for a certain reason. That's where I'm getting into. Yeah. So it's a title unification thing because it's, you know, we're merging the companies together. So it's the European champion Bret Hart, who was always like, well, I can't lose, you know, in Canada. I can't, I'm big in this country, I'm big in this state, I'm big in whatever. And he would be the type of person who, when I've got a lot of like pretty big names across the board in like some different ways, giving him the European title makes the European title seem like it matters more. So he loses it to Jericho. And Jericho being either the TV champion or the US champion, here's where it's a 50-50 split between this and something else. I don't like the TV title, but I've never liked the United States title either. And we've got the Intercontinental Champion as well. So I would go one way or another depending on how WWF would want at the time. Either my preference, which is the TV title, is on par with the European title in my mind, more so. Like that's the number 3, more so than anything else. I'd go TV champion Chris Jericho. He strikes me as more TV champion anyway, like just the flashiness and stuff.
Belt they held, yeah.
Yeah. So he would go either TV champion beating the European title. And then, well, now we've got the TV championship going forward. Or he could be the United States champion, and you could do the whole thing where, like, he kind of is, like, not doing the Canadian thing and being like, no, I live in the United States now. And then it could be like, maybe we start heading towards Brett hating the US because he's lost the European title. It's the United States title now, that kind of thing. I lean more towards the TV title, but yeah, you start off with Chris Jericho versus Bret Hart. You know, start off with a good match. Then you go Test against Buff Bagwell. Two guys that are, you know, not the best in the ring or whatever, but that's why you start off with Bret against Jericho. And just for the sake of naming things, because I try to name things as stupidly as I possibly can, they're the Ico prototypes, because they're very much the type of people that Vince would like. And I would have Test win, but we would start to tease that these two actually might want to form a tag team.
Yeah. Tony belongs in a writer's room in Stamford, Connecticut. That's so funny.
And they would, of course, be the Ico prototypes when they eventually become a tag team. I wanted to get Ico Pro in there somewhere.
It's a good match because Test and Bagwell are the classic examples that JR would use of, like, if this was a body business and you won world titles based on, you know, how good you looked, Buff Bagwell would have been world champion. So would Test. And
I still think it's crazy that Buff Bagwell did not get a run in WWE. It seems like he would be such a fitting guy there.
He had his mom call out for him on the first day, so they just didn't like him.
Yeah, I mean, he didn't make it easy to, you know.
It does seem like he could have been a lifer, though. It's weird.
If he wouldn't have done that, you know, who knows what Buff Bagwell would have done in WWF. If Vince would have just been like, hey, how about you do this sick, depraved shit? And he'd be like, all right.
Yeah.
So I wanted to start off with a variety of, like, a showcase of different types of matches. So you go with, like, Bret and Jericho, where they're more like, they're technically sound and everything. Test and Bagwell, obviously not. So then let's throw a Cruiserweight Championship type match in there, but I don't want to go Cruiserweight title just yet. We just had a title unification, so regular Cruiserweight match. This is just set up something more in the division. Funaki against La Parka. And La Parka wins. During this time frame, La Parka, bigger deal, I would say.
Yeah, I'd say so.
Plus, at this point, WCW gets, or WWF gets the first win with the dark match. Then there's Jericho. Then we were trading back and forth. It's Test. Then it's La Parka. So we're evening things up. Raven's Rules match. Raven against Jake the Snake Roberts.
Ooh.
Yeah,
like
these two find their way to each other a lot when we do these things.
There's a certain natural, like, Jake plus who can Jake have an interesting feud with.
Jake plus Raven plus Orton plus Punk. That kind of.
Jake, Raven, Punk, Edge. You know, you get, like, certain people that just sort of, like, hover around each other. And I had a couple different options for both, but I just kept sticking to this. And I was just kind of like, you know, I liked Raven a lot in WCW. He was one of those guys that I was just like, oh man, I want that guy to go to WWF so bad, because I would watch Raw more than Nitro. And I was just like waiting for him to go there and do that kind of stuff over in WWF with people like Stone Cold and all. So as a bigger deal, and as Jake being an elder statesman in that kind of time frame, obviously Raven wins, and it's a Raven's Rules match, so he should win. And I thought about making this like a snake pit thing, or, like, you know, something to do with, like, the whole Jake the Snake versus a Raven or whatever, but I couldn't think of anything. And I was just like, I'll just throw Raven's Rules. We'll figure it out. He doesn't have the flock with him, but he can start recruiting or something. I don't know. And I could even see that being another scenario where it's, like, not on screen, but behind the scenes, that these two start, like, working together as, like, they, like, tap each other's minds, you know? So I don't know what they would come up with. I'd just let them do their shit.
Yeah,
at that point,
let them run with it.
It's time for like a bathroom break, because we've just gotten, Jericho, Brett, and like Funaki and Laparka running around like crazy, and Jake and Raven and all. So let's go with either, I don't know, the Counterfeit Classic, the Battle of the Bootlegs, whatever you want to call it. Just gave them stupid names for the sake of it, the Copycat Crew and the Imposter Syndrome. Gilbert and Fake Razor Ramon against the Renegade and Fake Sting.
Okay.
And it ends in a no contest because people get confused because there's both Earl Hebner and Dave Hebner.
God damn it. My biggest concern here is to find a way to mock the name the Blade Runners with Fake Sting and Fake Warrior.
I mean, Sting and Warrior, like, it's a tag team that makes sense, and
Yeah.
How about the Blade Walkers?
Yeah.
The Bad Runners. Like, I just threw the Copycat Crew and Imposter Syndrome in there just because I was like
it though.
But I couldn't pick like a winning team here because like who the fuck wins out of this group, nobody would come out of this looking good. Gilbert at most, maybe. Maybe he could do that or whatever. So I was just like, you know what? I'll just go with this one's a no contest. It's a bathroom break match anyway. It's something for people to laugh at. And then you don't want to make everything completely silly. So right afterward, you go with the title unification thing. Everybody's back from taking their bathroom break, and it's the Intercontinental Champion, the British Bulldog, Davey Boy Smith, against the either United States or Television Champion, Jim the Anvil Neidhart.
I hate the idea of Jim Neidhart holding the U.S. title.
That's why I didn't like that.
I'm sorry.
That's why I was like, oh man, the US title and the TV title and all that. And like, I like TV title on Jericho, but I don't like the US title going to Jim Neidhart. But it ultimately doesn't matter because Davey Boy Smith wins anyway. So the Intercontinental takes away the United States title. So, I think
I understand your thought process with everything you did, but just given the names involved, IC champion Brett, European champion Bulldog, TV champion Neidhart, just sounds better.
it's just a matter of then the belts don't have to, like, they don't go in that certain direction. Because I want at the end the Intercontinental and the TV title, as opposed to the US and the European, But I wanted Bulldog to beat Neidhart, and I wanted Jericho to beat Brett. That's, how you get to that point is all, maybe you just give a push to certain people and you just go like, okay, well, the built-in story of Davey Boy against Neidhart, there's already something there. Maybe Neidhart was able to win the United States title somehow, and maybe you're getting him enough of a push, and it's just one of those random things where it's like, we'll try with the Rhino a little bit.
The fucking Rhino.
Every Rhino thing at this point, I just think of that. So, Brett loses the title to Jericho, but Davey Boy retains the Intercontinental title over Neidhart. Let's go with a hardcore tag team match now, because we haven't had a hardcore match in a few after the Ravens Rules thing. And I had to pair some people up here and there. So the Disciple and Z Gangsta, one side of the Mega Maniacs and one side of, Zeus and that whole thing. So they're the no holds barred Maniacs, because they're starting to get into the hardcore division, against Tommy Dreamer and Duke the Dumpster Drosy. They could be called the Trash Can Company. They could be called Insanitation. Whatever.
I hate this.
Duke Drosy is not going to be doing anything good enough on his own. Put him in the tag team division. Put him in the hardcore division, And Tommy Dreamer's a trash can type guy. So they come out there with trash cans and they beat the Disciple and Z Gangsta.
No, they don't.
They do. I'm gonna push them. I'm gonna push those trash can guys.
Hey, you've got Hogan on your roster. No, he's not gonna. The Disciple's not losing that match.
Too bad. Hogan's got no pull in this era with me. Little kid me, different story. Before I realized he was a piece of shit. And you know what was coming? but it's not called the same thing. It's the Big Brand Buffet.
God damn it.
And it's not a battle royal. It's a brawl of a 6-man tag. So super heavyweights from WCW and super heavyweights from WWF. You've got on the WCW side, The Wall, John Tenta, and One Man Gang, accompanied by Vincent, against King Kong Bundy, Giant Silva, and Kurgan, accompanied by the Jackal.
Boy, I hate it. Oh, I hate it.
Well, you hate even more so. Do you realize why I paired up One Man Gang and Vincent?
Why, Tony?
I mean, can't you picture Akeem and Virgil?
Yeah, I was really hoping you wouldn't say that.
Look at all the fuck money.
I thought Vincent was just there to bring the meat sauce.
Well, if it was a big man buffet,
yeah, there would have been a lot more need for meat sauce.
Yeah, and I'd go Kurgan as the guy that stands out as like the big guy to like push,
as he often does.
Yeah. There's no Babatunde here, but Kurgan. During this time frame, there was a short time frame where Kurgan was like, okay, they're pushing Kurgan until they put him in the oddities and stuff.
Had it been any other era, they would have tried to force him, like they forced Kali, but he just admits the one era where it was like, we're not going to go with the giant guy.
Yeah.
Do you think you could have a situation in this match where John Tenta, over the course of the match, gets something stuck on his head that he can't take off,
and then it's stuck there.
And that's how Golga is born.
Yeah, that's the impetus of Golga.
Or he gets hit with a Cartman doll.
I was just gonna say he gets hit in the head and the lump starts to form.
Perhaps the thing that's stuck on his head, it's a shark fin, because he's a shark.
But picture just, I mean, in an era where you can just do random shit like that and it's not work rate based, John Tenta standing across the ring from King Kong Bundy, The Wall standing across the ring from Giant Silva and One Man Gang, and there with Vincent and Kurgan with the Jackal, these two, on the side, Jackal being like typical Don Callis. I could see this being one of those things where it's like, yeah, it's not going to be good, but these dudes collide and Kurgan's the one that stands tall in the end. Plus it gets another point to my tally for WWF. The next match is no laughing matter though. It's Doink the Clown against Hugh Morris.
Of course it is. Why would it be anything else?
Okay, I'm on board with this one, yeah.
And of course Hugh Morris is the more serious of them and he beats the shit out of Doink the Clown.
All right, I had two questions. The first was going to be if he beats the shit out of him and then moonsaults Dink, or is he going to literally slip on a banana peel and lose to Doink the Clown?
I figure Doink fucks around with him, and Hugh Morris is like, all right, I'm done with this shit. Because I kind of figure I would put Hugh Morris in that hardcore division. And this is where I started to get into, funny enough, this is the thing that made me start thinking of it more than almost anything else, where I was like, oh, I think it might not work. It would be one of those things I would take a chance on if I were in the, creative capacity back then. I would think if you've got WWF and WCW and you're merging them together, you can't just do double of the same thing and just continue to have like, it's Intercontinental title and it's United States title and it's TV title and it's European title and it's Cruiserweight title and it's whatever. And it's just the same as like Raw and SmackDown, which ultimately I do kind of think that you need to do. But I think during this time frame, I would be like, we've got so many people. We need to figure out roles for them. And the Cruiserweight division is distinctly like, they can be a star in the Cruiserweight division. I would probably be very heavy into the hardcore division and be like, no, I want to try to make this more of a thing and build up somebody more like a Hugh Morris, like another guy in the hardcore division. I mean, we know that he beats people up and stuff. He's a bully. Then you got 2 tag
I was-
teams.
Sorry, if you wanted to introduce Hugh Morris in the hardcore division, maybe he could beat Doink the Clown by hitting him with a deadpan.
I like that. That's all the more reason why it's no laughing matter, right? I got Chronic, Brian Adams, Brian Clark, of course, against. This is one of the things where I was like, I'm proud of some of those things in the card. Albert, who hadn't been A-Train yet, right?
No, he didn't become A-Train until 2002.
And Draws. And they are the puke train.
So here's the
thing.
See,
it's quite funny because you don't seem to know that they were a tag team.
They were a tag team.
But were they called the puke train?
They weren't called the puke train. I don't know what's wrong with you. So Albert comes in as what was he like? The fucking
Droz's tattoo artist, right? Or something like that?
Yeah, the Prince Albert, that whole thing.
Prince Albert is the idea, getting your dick pierced.
Right.
So what's going on, but then you're like, I'm gonna call them.
Yeah, because it's naturally they make sense to continue to pair up as a tag team. But then when I was going through the team names, I was just kind of I don't know, I kind of want to call them the future.
See, this match is quite thematic as well because you do what Chronic does, and then you're on the puke train.
Yeah, you do a little too much Chronic, then you're on the puke train.
Yeah. Okay. Rob, you have to get on the same wavelength than me and Tony are on. We see this.
You don't see the vision here.
Yeah,
it's so good.
Burr.
My vision's not very good when I'm on Chronic, but
Yeah, right.
Yeah, I mean, I booked this card after Inedible. So. And look at that, Brian Adams and Brian Clark go over.
Yeah, that's. I genuinely thought that they were great and was sad that they just got squashed by Undertaker again.
I mean, as a kid, I liked Adam Bomb.
I had to watch it. Yeah.
I loved Crush.
The sad thing about that match was all 4 of them are good. That match was not.
All things considered, Albert draws Brian Adams and Brian Clark. It's not the best match, but that's a solid mid-card match. Tag team division, I could see Chronic being built up towards a potential title shot. I could see Albert and Draws catching on, And I didn't quite figure out which I wanted to do with this one yet. I had 2 ideas, and I also just had it could just be a regular match, but it could either be an I Quit match where it's do you know who my father is, and you have to say their father's name, or it could be the idea that the apple has fallen far off the tree, and it's a ladder match, but it's Shane McMahon against David Flair.
Why would you do that?
Shane's not going to have a great match with anybody. David Flair's not going to have a great match with anybody.
That's a false statement. Shane McMahon has great matches with a lot of people.
Shane McMahon has good falls.
Shane McMahon can have fun. You put him against a big guy who can throw him, and you've got a match, pal. You put him with David Flair, and he becomes the great worker in the match. What are you doing?
Well, it's also the bathroom break before the main event. So I go Shane McMahon, and at this point, the tension is building between WWF and WCW, and the way that Shane wins and the cocky attitude that Shane's got afterward, WCW is starting to get very pissed. So the main event of the first night is a Hell in a Cell match, Kane against Big Show.
That's a very Tony match.
It is technically a giant if you are saying he's WCW.
Yeah, and
that's I wrote down Big Show, but yeah, it should be the giant.
Wow.
And Giant in WCW versus Kane in Hell in a Cell format, in roughly you go in that 97 range or something like that. I mean, that's Vader Goldberg basically.
Oh well, on paper it's Vader Goldberg, and I do agree this it's very physical. But these 2 fuckers are going to try and drop kick each other. They're going to do nip ups off the cage, because these 2 were just they just didn't like the fact that they were only seen as big guys.
Yeah, they definitely did more than what they should have done for certain character moments. Yeah,
this era Giant is doing fucking. He's gonna try to jump off the cage for no reason.
He's moonsaulting and shit. Yeah.
Like,
And I honestly, I think it would be good. And it ends with the Giant winning, even over that type of era Kane, but because of a big run-in angle. So you end the pay-per-view Sunday Nitro, Heat, whatever, with like WCW being the reason why the Giant could get that little bit of an edge over on Kane, because multiple WCW people come out there, and then the WWF guys come out there too.
So I really I would have ended this match with Giant choke slamming Kane through the roof, through the you do one of those fucking really dramatic shots, but I would have had Giant dominantly stand over.
I wouldn't want to go dominant because I still would want Kane to be dominant, but I would want it to be like both of them against anybody could destroy anybody. That's almost the immovable force, type scenario. But technically speaking, the Giant wins, and that might not even be a pinfall. Maybe it's just the Giant escapes the cage.
Like Hell in a Cell.
Oh, it's Hell in a Cell. That's right.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe the lights turn red and Seth Rollins comes.
Yeah. And he hits him with the mallet,
and he grabs the mallet.
Yeah. But I'd go Giant winning because I want the night to end with WCW having been like, "Fuck you all. We're gonna take over."
I think it's good on paper, especially for the younger side of them at this stage in their careers. The one thing that this match has going against it is every other Kane in the Big Show match.
Yeah, realistically,
they had terrible chemistry with each other in WWF. So hopefully, it's better when they're younger and more agile than they would be in later years.
So the dark match of the second night is the Bushwhackers, Bushwhacker Butch and Bushwhacker Luke, obviously. Those are those two, against a tag team that I didn't know really what much to do with, so I just paired them up. Hacksaw Jim Duggan and Horace Hogan. And you could call them a couple different things. For some reason, I had my two options that I had written down were Red, White, and Bruised, or the 2x4 Horseman. That's the best I could think of, I guess.
Run that one by me again. The what?
The 2x4 Horsemen.
No, we're not doing it.
Red, White, and Bruised is a much better name.
Yeah. I might have just defaulted to the old Hogan.
Yeah, there you go.
That's even better. And kind of like the Norman Smiley and Barry Horowitz thing, there's an element of good sportsmanship. Eventually, we're all going to be buddies here. We don't have to hate each other just because we're in competition with each other. But Horace Hogan's an ass. So Bushwhackers and Hacksaw are friends. And Hogan is a dick. And Hacksaw turns on Hogan and is just like, oh, listen, fucker, even though I'm a WCW guy at this moment, Bushwhackers are my buds. And the Bushwhackers end up winning by pinning either Hogan from Hacksaw just being like, no, fuck you, and turning on him in the match and going with the baby faces, or maybe Hacksaw loses the match and Hogan is pissed, and then it's like, okay, well, the three of them beat up Hogan. I never liked Horace Hogan, so I'm fine with him being in that kind of spot.
Nobody liked Horace Hogan.
Yeah, I don't think Hogan likes.
I think Horace does. But then we want to start off again, with an actual, now that you're paying attention to the actual show, start off with something good. Light heavyweight champion X-Pac against cruiserweight champion Rey Mysterio, title unification.
Woo! Yeah. Well, I feel like Gordon Ramsay finally some decent fucking food.
Holy shit! What the fuck was all of that?
No, I liked a lot of the stuff on the first card, but it's like after that dark match, it's like the crowd must be
Right.
going like, "Oh, we're here to watch a wrestling show."
Yeah, well, that's why it's a dark match, you know, because I didn't want to put that on as like a bathroom break, because then everybody would be like, "Oh, I have to actually, I'm going to watch this." That's dark match. But you start off with X-Pac against Rey Mysterio.
Yeah.
Rey Mysterio wins. Cruiserweight title is your WWF Cruiserweight Championship, or whatever championship it's going to be, because it all depends on who ends up having like control at the end in one way or another. So it's the WWF / WCW Cruiserweight Championship going forward now. Because I never liked light heavyweight. Cruiserweight's cooler.
They didn't either. That's why if you look, the one thing they kept from WCW was the Cruiserweight title.
They pick and choose a few things here and there. Like that, it's like War Games and, you know, Great American Bash. They're like, yeah, I like that one. You know? Then I've got a 10-man tag team match. I don't know if I would go Survivor Series elimination style. Probably not, just for the sake of timing and not having to book each individual like elimination stuff. This isn't my strongest, I have to admit. But you get a group of people, WWF people, a group of WCW people, you start having like backstage segments and stuff where people are arguing with each other and all. Because I'm kind of figuring that like this is not like the first show. This is more like you build up to it a little bit. And Triple H leads the charge for Team WWF as being like, I was there in WCW. I was terrorizing, and that place fucking blows, and I don't want these guys in here anymore. Meanwhile, you've got another guy like Lex Luger who's like, and I was here in WWF, and this place fucking sucked, and I was better in WCW. Luger as the team head of WCW and Triple H as the team of WWF start recruiting some of their typical guys. So Luger's got Kurt Hennig by his side, typical fashion, and he's got Steve Mongo McMichael. He's got Dusty Rhodes as a figurehead of WCW, and Jeff Jarrett, who's very much in the fuck WWF side of things. Triple H has a little bit harder of a task, but when you see somebody like a Mongo, he bumps into like a Bradshaw backstage, and he's like, "Hey, big man, you're a WWF guy. You want to fight with me?" And Bradshaw's like, "Hell yeah, I'll fight. Give me a beer." I threw Tatanka in here mostly to be like, I kind of figure this is like maybe a stupid little backstage segment or something, but like, I don't picture Dusty as being like a bad guy in WCW's team. I figure him as a babyface that's just pro WCW. So maybe he and Tatanka actually are kind of like cool with each other, because it's all like, oh, you know, like kind of goofiness a little bit backstage, whatever. Savio Vega being offset by Jeff Jarrett as like, yeah, I feuded with him before. Jeff Jarrett's an asshole, and I don't want this guy back. And Jarrett being like, fuck you, Savio. You know, you were never worth anything. I'm better in WCW, and you couldn't hang with where the big boys play, that kind of a thing. So WWF is down one guy, and the one person that they end up recruiting, this is my one little like kind of weird thing, is Rowdy Roddy Piper, who I had put for WCW. And the reason why I switch him over here is I have him as, he was always more of a WWF guy for me, and I'm going to make him on the outs. And he's the one person who is like, storyline wise, the turncoat, but you can't trust him because, well, who says that the turncoat's actually not a mole? And I think that that's a part that Piper could play really well. Plus the idea of, you got Triple H and Piper as like the two kind of figureheads of that team. And then you've got like Luger and either like Hennig or Luger and Rhodes as kind of like the more like talker types and whatever. Definitely not Mongo being a talker type. Mongo and Bradshaw a little bit more so, balancing each other act. So Piper comes into this as like, oh, well, he's a WWF type of guy, but he's technically a WCW guy at this moment. Do we trust him? Do we not? And that leads to a lot of infighting. And it ultimately results with Piper being like, I don't fucking like any of you people. You're all a bunch of assholes. And that is enough of an argument with Triple H that Team WCW wins. And at this point, they are currently seeming like they are well more in power.
You have hold on. You have all of DX. And you paired Triple H with Tatanka.
I got nothing about the X-Pac and Rey Mysterio and stuff, yeah.
Oh yeah, I can understand that to a degree. I think that it's very lopsided in terms of style.
To a degree. But
that's the team that loses too.
Oh yeah, but it's the right thing to lose.
Yeah.
But I feel like the reason why it loses shouldn't really be down to infighting. It should be down to the fact that
Savio Vega and Tatanka.
Yes, and Tatanka. So I probably
Savio or Tatanka takes a pin for sure, and it's kind of more like the goofy WWF. Like, of course, you had Justin Hawk Bradshaw and Tatanka and Savio Vega, where it's like, WCW was like, we're just going to make him Kurt Hennig. He's not Mr. Perfect. We're just going to make him Jeff Jarrett. He's not Double J. To kind of play into the whole, like, we're getting into not being as goofy anymore. And that's like a negative for WWF, even though I think it's one of the positives because, I liked my goofy shit. So
it's kind of like it's just weird to me that you have Hunter in a tag match, just not with the other guys in the DX. That's all.
See, I'd probably if I was to approach this and just have the people available, because I think it's fine, but I'd probably go more Survivor Series 10-man tag approach with it, and have early on have Bradshaw and McMichael just take each other out and just both be double count outed and eliminate themselves that way. Then have it come down to 4-2 with Piper and Triple H on one side and the rest of them on the other.
Right.
And then Triple H starts making his way through the others. So he eliminates Hennig and he eliminates
Jarrett.
Maybe even Rhodes, because Jarrett is more of a main event guy in WCW. Rhodes is the older head at this point. So just in case Hennig's not at the level that he once was, and Rhodes is a veteran at this point, so he can't keep up with the others. But then Roddy Piper and Triple H start getting into an issue with each other, and Roddy Piper just walks out, and then Triple H eventually succumbs to Jarrett and Luger.
Mm-hmm.
That's probably how I approach it. But it could be Rhodes and Luger, it could be any way I approach, but it'd just be a case of it feels like they're coming back, but then Piper and Triple H get to come to blows with each other, and that leads to Piper just walking out and Triple H falling to the final pin or submission to Luger, or however you approach it.
Yeah, the idea being that they are going to have issues afterward, and Piper and Triple H and some other people and all that, kind of cross-examining, and it's not over between the one side and the other side, but also you walked out on me, fuck you. And I kind of like the idea about Piper being a guy that's he's on the outs of everybody. WCW doesn't trust him, WWF doesn't trust him because he's a lone wolf type guy. But then we got to go into our goofy shit. Godfather against Alex Wright.
I'm going to assume that this match doesn't happen because Alex Wright takes him up on the hose.
I thought about it, but no matter what happens, Godfather ends up coming out at the end. So whether that's, Alex Wright just decides to go dance with the hose, or if that's the move, or if it's an actual match or something, the point is Godfather wins. And I also thought about adding him in with Albert and Droz and going with the Ho Train thing there. And then I was like, I don't know where I could get the puke thing in there. And, I don't know. I like that idea better. Then I would be doing almost creating another separate division from the hardcore division. I'd be kind of teasing it at least a little bit. Let's see if there's something here. Because in my scenario, they haven't done Brawl for All, and it's not something that is necessarily that they should do. But hey, if you got the cruiserweight division and you got the hardcore division, why don't you go with maybe trying into that MMA type thing that's popular around now? There's this Kama guy, there's this Ken Shamrock guy, there's this Dan Severn guy, et cetera, et cetera. So I would probably call that the Fight Club division, because I'm also thinking this might be around 99. Fight Club's popular. Steve Blackman against Johnny B. Bad. And Johnny B. Bad wins. And you start pushing him as like he cheated to win. And he sort of does a little bit of that boxer Mark Merrow bullshit gimmick where you know that Steve Blackman's the better fighter.
Yeah, I think it's a good idea to do like there's an iteration of like the brawl for almost aspect. The only problem is that you just can promote this match.
Yeah, because you can't talk about Fight Club.
Can't talk about it.
Talk about Fight Club, yeah. So it just happens.
Johnny B. Bad's gonna have to sing it, and Tutti Frutti kind of method. This one I'm not a big fan of, admittedly, but I wanted to put them in the card somewhere. I'm re-teaming the Godwins, Henry O. Godwin and Midian, so he realizes what the fuck's wrong with him, and in the way that somebody can come back from a cult, he's back to being Phineas I. Godwin. I wanted so badly to figure out a way to give him another name where M was his last name and he could have the initials HAM. And I couldn't figure it out. Like Howard Andrew Midian. Something like. And then I'm like, yeah, but why would he be Phineas before? And it's like, like I couldn't figure it out. If there was a third, like if there was some means to be like Midian blank Godwin, and that it would mean a pig, I would have gone with that.
What's wrong with you?
Plenty. The Godwins are up against a team of David Arquette and VK Wall Street. So it's his accountant in Hollywood. Okay. And they could be called a couple different types of things. Executive producers was one of my team names. Box office and balance sheets was one, but I liked Hollywood and Wall Street.
Why is David Arquette mad at the Godwins?
Because they are
they stopped him.
They're gross types of people, and he is the Hollywood type guy, and like I'm from California, I'm not a Southern hick, that kind of thing.
Yeah, Callum. Yeah, got it. They slopped him. He's from Hollywood. I get it.
Well, they slop him at the end of this.
Exactly.
Well, you're gonna have that. You have like
I have Arquette and Wall Street going over because you get heat on Arquette and then you slop him.
Okay.
Yeah.
See. I don't know what the teams or the names, but you would go for the team their thing. But I know this match would make me scream.
This one's for the ladies. This one's the model Rick Martel against the star Val Venus, for obvious reasons.
Why you called him just a star?
Because I didn't want to say the porn star. I don't think that they wouldn't necessarily.
Well, that's what they did.
It works better if it's the model, the blank kind of a thing like that in my mind. I don't know, the star and the model, but
very, very come get them, ladies.
I would almost kind of do another one of those scenarios where Venus wins and Martel is like, potentially in a tag team with him in the future. And just sort of maybe they could do some kind of fun tag team gimmick.
We're spinning off arrogance. It's no longer just a cologne. It's now a brand of penis pumps.
Now it's a series of DVDs that you can find in the back section of VHS store. It's been a while since we had a title unification, so it's the hardcore title against the hardcore title. Al Snow against the loose cannon Brian Pillman. And Brian Pillman wins. He is our new hardcore champion. Didn't want to go Flying Brian.
Yeah, I mean, like, I forgot you had Pillman, and then it makes me rethink people like Raven. But yeah.
Well, Raven, guy to build up to winning that title down the future. You could do a Jake the Snake versus Brian Pillman feud. You got some people in the divisions now, like the Albert Andras types can be in there. You can throw Brian Pillman against like a cheapo guy like Duke the Dumpster Drosy or a guy like a Tommy Dreamer. You can put Al Snow against a Hugh Morris, kind of a strong hardcore division. compared to
It's
some
weird
other
to say,
things.
but like I would probably you
You
end
probably would.
with, but he'd rather see Leaf Cassidy. I'd probably rather see Leaf Cassidy versus Flying Brian.
Flying Brian.
Yeah.
Then we have a tag
It's
team.
weird because what you did here was you kind of took an assumption on Brian Pillman. Because Brian Pillman passes away before any of this shit takes off, so we don't know how he would have fared in like hardcore divisions.
I would have gone with him and tried, yeah. Because I always thought that there was something there, that there was some good potential. And if it doesn't work out, put the ball on Raven. You got to go back up like that. Since this is the TV side of things, I'm going to get the New Age Outlaws on TV. And it's Road Dogg, Jesse James, and Badass Billy Gunn against the Latino World Orders, Conan and Hector Garza.
Bro, you had all of DX. You had all. Come on.
But who would you pair Triple H, Billy Gunn, Jesse James, and X-Pac up against?
You have like 4 horsemen on the other side of the Triple H match. You just didn't put them with DX. Like it's
I wanted to do that X-Pac Mysterio match and stuff. And I like New Age Outlaws up against like a shit talker type like a Conan and beating him.
Or at the very least, like we couldn't find another tag team for the New Age Outlaws to face.
At one point, it was them against Chronic for some obvious reasons, but then I kind of liked the Albert Andrade against those two. A different pairing.
That would have been the Pineapple Express match.
It's obviously Road Dogg and Billy Gunn win. They pin Hector Garza.
I hope so.
Then we have a clash for the crown. It's Jerry the King Lawler against Lord Steven Regal. There's only one room for one king, and it's Regal. Out of all the
Lord to a king,
he becomes. I'm going to call myself King Steven Regal or something. Jerry Lawler at this point goes to more of like a. Every once in a while I'll wrestle, but I'm mostly on the commentary side of things. And Regal's a guy that you're going to keep around longer and give a little bit more of a push to, while Lawler is an elder kind of part of the roster. So you put over the guy that's going to be around and try to build him towards some future. Maybe he's going to be the next guy that fights British Bulldog for the Intercontinental title. First blood match. Gangrel against Vampire against Vampiro. It's Vampire match.
That should be a last blood match.
Last blood. Or it's just they just drink as much of it as they can. Whoever stops drinking,
There's a trough of blood in the middle, and they're drinking that in between fighting each other.
And I'd go Gangrel beating Vampiro. Between the two, if I'm going to keep one of them, is more of a vampire. I'm going to keep Gangrel. Whereas Vampiro, he could be just more of like, he's vampire-esque in that hardcore division.
I like it, just because, of course, it's Gangrel and Vampiro.
Yeah. And you got to do something with the goblet and all. Second to last match, World Tag Team titles against World Tag Team titles, unification thing. Edge and Christian against Eddie Guerrero and Chavo Guerrero. And an upset happens with Eddie and Chavo winning.
This is interesting. Because, like...
They never really did Eddie and Chavo that much in WCW.
Right, they weren't really teaming like that. So you've taken what you know from the future, and you're applying it to a great team that they never got to actually face with Edge and Christian. I like it.
One of the reasons why is because even though I could have done Chavo in like a cruiserweight capacity and Eddie in like a singles, I was like, well, I kind of like the idea of Eddie and Chavo together. I didn't get to see that.
Tag team.
I haven't looked at your picks, but I don't know if there's a stronger team.
Well, he's got like
than the Guerreros, you mean?
Yeah,
he's got the Latino World Order. He's got Chronic and definitely not the No Holds Barred Maniacs or the Imposter Syndrome.
Right.
Like, yeah. So I guess that's a pretty solid duo.
And at any
Yeah.
point, you can break off Eddie. You can make him start going for singles gold. You can make Chavo go for the cruiserweight gold. But I think that they could also work really well together. And I think that you go into this expecting that maybe Chavo takes the pin, but Christian gets pinned by Eddie.
Thinking about the argument, they would have gone with this tag team if Eddie never suffered that car crash, which kept him out of action for a long time.
Right.
So this all ends with the title unification of the WWF and WCW World Heavyweight Championship. And that is what ultimately is really going to decide who is controlling these championships. Not like this is the end game of this brand warfare thing, but is the Cruiserweight title going to be branded the WCW Cruiserweight title? Is the Intercontinental title the WCW Cruiserweight Intercontinental title? Or whatever. So it's Stone Cold Steve Austin against Hollywood Hulk Hogan. Come on. And Steve Austin wins. So it is WWF championships, but because of that one draw, there's not a tie, and WCW has more wins. So you go into the next thing being like WCW says, we won more matches. WWF goes, yeah, but we won the title.
Yeah, I mean, this.
Tune in next week.
Yeah, I mean, this is the definitive main event. It's really the only one you could have gone with the people that were selected. Like, I mean, there are a couple of options, but like Austin Hogan, that's the match that people wanted to see from this period. So yeah, makes sense. And having Austin win is the right call on many levels.
The funniest thing to me is between all three of our cards, and I'll just say right now, I think Callum did the best. It really shows why if you're gonna do this, you gotta have everybody.
Mm-hmm.
You can't separate these people.
You can't just have the VK Wall Streets and the gangsters. You gotta have the Rey Mysterios and the Bret Harts.
I was saying, this period of wrestling did a lot of great stuff, but it also had so much crap in it as well. Like, so in this, you're still getting some of the good stuff in all of the cards, but then you're also having to spread the crap around a bit. I mean, they only picked like people like David Arquette. I didn't even have him on the list, but he decided to just go. But no, I like the card overall. I think that with both of you guys, I never even thought for a second of doing any sort of title matches in my one, because I just thought it just wasn't in the spirit of the thing. But like, I understand why going for it, especially if you're, in Tony's case here, trying to move towards the future where these two are going to be working together, so you need to cut out some of the titles. But yeah, I mean, I like obviously Bret Hart versus Chris Jericho, because that does give me very much from this period of time. That does very much give me Bret versus 1-2-3 Kid vibes. So that'd be good. I like the obviously X-Pac Rey Mysterio would probably be the best match on either show, just from a quality standpoint. But yeah, there's stuff that I don't like on this one though, because like the God wins against Arquette and VK Wall Street.
Yeah, that's one of my weakest for sure.
I mean, I'm not a huge fan of Funaki La Parka. I think he'd be fine, but like Funaki just wasn't that impressive to me. But yeah, I mean, as I say, it's some ups and downs, but like you add your element of weirdness to it, which makes things better.
Yeah, obviously there's some stuff here that I liked. I really enjoy the X-Pac Mysterio idea. Hogan Austin's it's a gimme. You got to do it. Kane Giant as a way to close out the first night is a shocker. Bret and Jericho starting everything off was really like entering the Twilight Zone almost immediately, especially Bret as European champion, because that feels so C-tier. But yeah, if I had to say some of the things I don't like, the 2x4 Horsemen, because you're just like, you're really stretching there. And then I really like that 10-man tag. It's just so weird that it's like, here's Hunter, and he's with Bradshaw and Tatanka and Vega. It's just strange. and that's probably my least favorite thing because of that.
Well, everybody else that's listening, go ahead and let us know what you thought. Which card were you being the most interested in? Which matches stood out to you, good or bad? What do you think that you would do in this scenario if you had any of our things? Always curious what the other fantasy booking ideas are, because plenty of times when we're going through here, it's like, oh, I never would have thought of that. I never would have thought of that. So leave a comment below. Tell us what you think and all your ideas too. And yeah, I don't know about like what the next mock draft or fantasy booking thing will be. I could potentially do an elimination chamber thing like I've done before with like a randomizer, maybe for the Darkcast, maybe explore some kind of ultimate card. Kind of just depends on what my schedule is, what we're interested in, what anybody else is interested in us doing and stuff. You could also make sure that we do something in particular. If you're like, man, I really want these guys to like watch an old elimination chamber thing. I know that 2010 has been mentioned quite a bit over on Discord, but you can make sure that we do it by being part of this pick your sponsor. My God, I'm reading too many things at the same time. The Pick Your Poison sponsored side of things on the YouTube channel membership and the Patreon, where you can directly fund it. Just be like, okay, well, I'm paying for you guys to like make sure you do this one or something. Leave a comment below on all the other things like that. Check out the link tree at amangotree.com and anthonymango.com. It's the same exact thing. So follow me on all the different things that you can find there, and follow Rob and Callum too.
Yep, follow me everywhere at Dude Felice. You can check out my work on Insider Gaming and check out what Callum has got going on.
Yep, you can follow me at Weekmaster14 on Twitter and Blue Sky. Check out the Power Rankings every Saturday over on smarkandmo.com. I rank the WWE superstars based on their previous week's performances. And while you're over there, head on over to the Fantasy League, also at WWEFantasyLeague.com, to see how our rosters are performing while we head towards WrestleMania and the conclusion of this year's season.
So that's in for the matchmaker. That's in for the mock draft side of that, and then the whole combination of everything. So one more double main event in the bag, and that means the next time you're going to be hearing from us is at the very least going to be the hot tags, where we'll talk about some of the different things that have been happening in the past few days, and we'll break down what we think's in the box and stuff. And next week, rolling along with, you know, the way that February is, we thankfully do not have just like an onslaught of pay-per-views and stuff, but that's going to be coming around quicker than we think. So we do still have one more blank week.
No, we don't.
Oh wait, no, we don't.
Right?
That's right.
Next
Elimination
week is
Chamber is next week. Oh, so it's pay-per-view week. All right, so never mind. We're going to talk about the I'm thinking we have a whole extra week worth of stuff, and fuck me, I'm wrong. Elimination Chamber predictions and stuff coming around. So I'll also have a Call the Spot somewhere in there. Not my favorite thing over the years, and we put like less and less emphasis on it, but you know, I'll put it up there. And stay tuned. I don't know. We'll see you when we see you. And whenever you click on the next thing next, hopefully you're having fun with that too. But adios for now. This has been another Smark Out moment, and we are being counted out.